All right, I think we're live. So welcome everyone to another Maran Motoring live stream here on the Maran Motoring YouTube channel. Hope you're all having a great weekend here so far. Thanks for stopping by here on this Saturday evening. I know it's a little bit of a switch from Sunday, so we'll see how many people we have joining in since it's a little bit off of the usual schedule here. But thank you all so much for joining. And like all the other usual live streams, I'm going to try to go for about 2 hours. I am still getting over a little bit of a cold, so if my voice starts to give out, I may bail sooner than 2 hours, so no guarantees on the length of this one. But otherwise, I'll be, like usual, giving priority answering to anyone who does a super chat or a super thanks, as well as anyone who is a member there with the green usernames. They always get that priority answering. There's a link in the description if you'd like to get priority answering as well. But anyway, I see Tu is starting us off here with the first super chat of the night, a very generous one at that. Thank you so much, Tu. He says, welcome to the basement. What you can expect here, aside from car questions, is Kyle playing Raid Shadow Legends, trapping new members in the base, gifting new memberships, and Matt shilling for Toyota, basement lore, TBC. So, yep, it's all a bunch of inside jokes and a bunch of car questions and fun car discussion as well. But thanks so much for joining in, too. Hope you're having a good Saturday as well. And happy to see a bunch of other members joining in as well, and others. I see Theodore, Brian, Kevin, Wheatman, Decepticon, Kyle, Misco Gamer, Dave, Kirill, and Sean, and Vaseline. Thank you all so much for joining in. So, all right, let me get into the other member questions here. Tu also says, Tu trying to escape the handcuffs. Yeah, that radiator is going to have to give out one of these days, and you'll be ripping right out of the wall. And Wheatman says, happy Easter weekend, Matt. Thanks. Happy Easter to those of you who celebrated here as well, and hope you all have a great Easter tomorrow. And let me see. Dave says already with the super chat. Yeah, and I appreciate it too. It really is appreciated. And Veselin says, I was previously Wild Frames. Well, welcome back, and thanks for the heads up there so that I know about the new username there. And thanks for joining. And I know, again, in Europe there, it's got to be pretty late. So thanks for joining in. Sorry, these aren't a little bit earlier for those of you in Europe. And let me see, going into some of the questions here. Theodore says, what was your very first car review? It was I think it was a 2012 Subaru Forester. It was just a service loaner while my Legacy GT, I think it was the GT or maybe the BRZ, was getting serviced. I was just like, well, I'm just going to film a review. And it was, obviously not very well done, but it was just my first crack at it. And yeah, that's what started it all. And let me see. So Kirill says prices for Honda Civic Hybrid. We don't know yet. Should know pretty soon because they said it's going to be on sale this summer. So I'm guessing we'll have pricing here in the next, month or two. Honda usually waits till the very last minute to announce pricing though. So they might even wait till like July to announce pricing. We'll see. They don't have any new info on it yet, aside from them just announcing it with that one image. We're still waiting on more info for that. So, yeah, I'm excited for that one, though. And let me see. Tu says only one super chat tonight because moving. Well, congrats on the move. That's exciting if you're moving, and best of luck with the move there. And Kyle says, Matt, do you think the Silverado EV and Equinox EV sell better than the Blazer EV? My dealer has a front-wheel drive Equinox RS EV in transit. MSRP is $47,995. I didn't know that Equinoxes were in production or were even close to coming to dealers. I haven't heard anything about a drive program, but I guess they were months behind on the Blazer too. So I guess for some reason this is the new strategy for Chevy media launches. But thanks for the info. I didn't know that was going to be available. Maybe I will try and get ahead of the curve on that one and try and hunt down an Equinox on the lot to just review ahead of time. Although the Blazer video got like no views, so maybe just wasting my time on electric Chevys is just foolish. But as far as why, or do you think that the Silverado EV and Equinox EV sell better? I mean, I don't think Equinox is out in any real numbers to say, and especially it's hard to judge anything against Blazer since it had a stop sale, and I believe it's still under the stop sale. If I don't know, I didn't get any update as far as that whole situation with the Blazer. I haven't looked into it. Silverado EV is selling really slowly because they're basically just putting the work truck versions. And I'm not sure, when they're supposed to come online because everything's just been so delayed with all the Ultium stuff that I have no clue when to expect anything. from that side of Chevy. But I mean, Equinox seems promising, but if it's 48 grand, I mean, that's yes, under the Blazers, which are, well into the 50s and 60s even, so I guess it's a savings there. But I still think it's too expensive. And like, I don't know if you guys saw this past week, but Hyundai for some reason wanted to really clear out 2024 Ioniq 6 rear-wheel drives badly, so badly that they were offering them for $239 a month with 0 down. It was a 24-month lease, $239. And just for kicks, I was curious because it is so cheap that I just was like considering like just picking one up for kicks. And I actually called around to a few Hyundai dealers, and the one guy told me we sold 6 yesterday. He's like, we're selling Ioniq 6s now faster than Palisades because of this new pricing. It was only like for this week. It was like literally like, I think it came out on the 18th of March or the 20th of March, and was only invalid until like April 1st. But they're like, everyone is pouring in. They're like, if you want one of these Ioniq 6s, you got to like snap it up now. And it's a really good car. And then if you're $239 a month, that is currently the best buy in the car market, hands down, period, no questions asked. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing, people are like, oh, well, like nobody wants EVs. People want them if they're at the right price. And you start giving people Ioniq 6s for $239 a month with nothing down, and all of a sudden you got a line out the door for electric cars. So, there's a lot of people that don't have strong holdups. It's just price. And so I think with Chevy, if they keep the price low on Equinox and deliver a 30 grand Equinox sooner rather than later, like they originally promised, or I guess now they're saying 35, I think they would have really good sales. I mean, it's the same with the Blazer. It's also really expensive in addition to all the other crap that's, been happening behind the scenes with it. So, I mean, it's just the pricing. I think it really is, at the end of the day, it's just pricing. And so Silverado EV, they might be selling okay now with the work trucks. And I'm sure that people that are waiting to be the early adopters on the regular versions of Silverado EV will buy it up nice and quickly. But like I think we talked about in the past week or two here, there's only so many people that can afford a $100,000 truck. And I think that, all these high-end truck manufacturers, electric or otherwise, even, fully loaded Rams and stuff, they're going to see there's a limit to how many people can buy these things. And it's been this like artificially high demand for these things that I don't know how it stayed as high as it has, but like we got to be reaching the end of all the millionaires that want $100,000 trucks. Like because it's just, there's no way that this can continue. So anyway, little tangent there, but yeah, I'm not sure what the sales numbers are. I haven't looked at them to say for sure, but I have no doubts that if Equinox is cheaper than Blazer and it's still, large enough to be a usable, family vehicle, then I think Equinox will definitely take the lead over Blazer just for that reason alone, because it just comes down to price. And let me see here. Wheatman says, what were the highlights of the New York Auto Show? Well, I covered them in the weekly update, but I think, for me, my personal highlights were the Genesis Magma stuff was really cool. Even though the G80, I don't know why they're only offering it in the Middle East. I'd love to have a good answer for that. But anyway, I mean, GV60 Magma looks cool. I think Kicks is an exciting, promising sign for this Nissan turnaround that I talked about in the weekly update as well. So I'm, optimistic about that. And what was the other stuff from New York? I mean, yeah, otherwise it's just refreshes for the most part. I mean, unless there's something else I'm forgetting, but there wasn't really anything super mind-blowing outside of the Genesis stuff. Was really the big surprise for me. So that was nice to see, but it was still, for me, not a show that would have been worth going to on my own dime. But it was funny. Genesis, they really rolled out all the stops. Like a bunch of the journalists that went to that thing, they offered them the option of either taking a helicopter in from the airport or, doing the usual taxi thing or whatever. So like they were really spending money on that debut for the Magma stuff and the Neo Loon thing or whatever, to be flying people in on helicopters and all that. So anyway, yeah, that was probably one of the highlights as well for many of the journalists there, was getting a helicopter right in. Now, PK says, wasn't there a compact Acura coming this year? There was rumors, and I think we saw a trademark. I covered it in a weekly update a few months back. But yeah, there is supposed to be something coming. I don't know if this year was a guarantee. I'd have to refresh my memory on that one because I don't remember the specifics, but there is, I think it's pretty good intel. There is a lower Acura SUV coming relatively soon. But I haven't heard anything new about it in several months now. And two says, speaking of crack, I'm honestly thinking Kyle gave me drywall and not the good stuff, allegedly. Also, why are we keeping scissors away from me? If you know, you know. Yeah, Fisker, they've been another dumpster fire. It's been interesting to follow that every week here. It's not often you see a car company implode in a matter of weeks right in front of you. It's just crazy. And Veslin says people will be okay with 20 to 30 grand EVs for city usage, and they are coming. Absolutely. And I totally agree. Slam Sedan says, hey, Matt, driving home from work. Thanks for joining in on the drive home there, and make sure you're driving safe, and thanks for stopping by. And Wheatman says, let Matt out of the basement so he can host the show. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll let Super Ducks fan come back and host it for me. Mike says, Matt, is the big Toyota event this month or next month? Well, it's March 30th, so I can say that it's next month. So yeah, it's next month. And I will hopefully have some. I'll be able to say some. I'm hoping to be able to share the embargo stuff next week. Maybe not the next live stream, but you'll probably hear about it. A little over a week from now, as far as the embargoes for when all the stuff's going to be coming out, as far as all the Toyota reviews that they have planned for this coming spring. So stay tuned for that. Your wait is almost over, Mike. I know you're very excited. It's gonna be lots of good stuff. So stay tuned for all that. And Slam Sedan says, what a Kicks Nismo sell? I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see them try, but as far as a business case, there's really nothing in that segment that's actually like a sports trim. You have sportier stuff. You have like the CX-30 Turbo, which is, got the numbers to be a sporty thing. It just doesn't have, the suspension to be quite as sporty as a full-blown performance model. But, I don't know. I think it'd be fun to see them try. I mean, they did, the Juke Nismo and stuff, and that was cool. So I'd like to see a Kicks Nismo. Just powertrain wise, I'm not sure, what fits in that new Kicks engine bay, if it has enough space to put in something a little bit punchier or not. But yeah, I'd love to see them try. And Veslin says, here Renault will announce Renault 5 for 25 grand euros, approximately $30,000, an EV with 250 miles of range, and that's the new path. And there was actually, I think whenever the Nissan stuff came out here this past week about their whole, 30 cars coming globally by 2027 or whatever, I think that like someone mentioned that there is going to be a rebadged Renault 5 that's going to be a Nissan. And if they keep the boxy styling of the Renault 5, I mean, I'm really bummed we don't just get the Renault here, but if they have a boxy retro looking Nissan, I am totally excited about that. That would be amazing. And yeah, I mean, as far as 250 miles of range, 25, 30 grand, I mean, that's like what the Chevy Bolt has been here in the States. It's been pretty close to that. And it was a really good little vehicle. I enjoyed the one I had for a week last year. And it's a shame they're discontinuing it. It's typical GM when they finally have a good hit that's the right vehicle for the right time, which is usually they get the timing wrong, but they got the timing kind of right this time around, and then they just go ahead and kill it. So we had one of those too. It wasn't as cool as the Renault 5, but the Bolt was kind of the same thing in a lot of ways. And two says, we don't do drugs in the basement. Allegedly, we only drink low-grade leaded gas, explains the Tacoma with a bad error on the script. Yeah, that was just me misspeaking there in the weekly update. Two picked up on the fact that I said, yeah, it was the new 4Runner teaser. I was saying everyone should expect a Tacoma with a cab, but I instead said a Tacoma with a bed. And just me being tired a little bit here. And just every once in a while, I have a little slip up there. So that was it. And Veslin says, yeah, Nissan and Renault are closely related. Right. Yeah, I know they still have that tie-up, and they actually just, I think, renewed their partnership there. But I just didn't know Renault was going to let them have that vehicle basically for Nissan. So that's great. I'd also obviously Mitsubishi do one of those and rebadges a Mirage or a Colt or something like that would be cool too. Slam Sedan says, my buddies were racing their cars, Scat Pack versus Camaro 2SS 10 speed. Interesting. I'm guessing the Camaro one, but I'd be curious to hear what the what the outcome of that one was. And let me see, try and get some non-member questions in here. So where I think so Sean said, "Hey Matt, have you thought about collaborating with other YouTubers on these live streams?" That's a possibility. I don't know how to. I have to just learn how to loop other people in here because I've never done that before. But that's something that I'd be open to if there's others that were available at this same time, and could make for a little bit of fun, bouncing back and forth. So yeah, maybe that's something next drive program that I'm on here, which will be the Toyota one. I will maybe see, because a bunch of my buddies are going to be there, and maybe I'll bring up the idea to some of them and see what they think. Because I'd love to have Tommy from TFL Car on here, because me and him are like really, I'd say like very similar old souls, and we always have great conversations on programs whenever we're hanging out and stuff. And so I think it'd be really fun to have me and Tommy just nerd out about old, nerdy stuff, old nerdy cars and just, things like that maybe would bore everyone else to tears. But me and Tommy would have a good time chatting. But there's so many good people in this industry that I'd absolutely love to hop on a live stream with. So I'm not against it. It'd just be something, requires a little more coordination than me just hopping on here and chatting like I casually do. And I see Decepticon Stinger says, "Wish you prefer Matt an Urus or Pura Songway?" Pura Songway all day for me. V12, I mean, come on. Over an Audi V8. I mean, the Audi twin turbo V8 is amazing as well. I love it in the RS6 and the RSQ8 and all that I had for weeks at a time. Those are amazing cars, amazing engine, but the Urus is still not a real Lamborghini in my mind. And even if it was, I prefer Ferrari over Lamborghini. Funny enough, now Toyota, I'm going to give two some new material here. I'm drinking coffee out of my Ferrari mug. So that tells you all you need to know about my answer to that one. Definitely a Ferrari fan. Not really a Lamborghini fan personally. And I've never driven either of them. So from a car reviewer standpoint, if I'm being objective, I have no clue because I've never driven either of them. But I'm inclined to think I would enjoy a V12 powered Ferrari over a twin turbo Audi V8 in something that I still don't love the looks of, to be honest with the Urus. So that's my take on that one, for better or for worse there. Two, thanks for the super chat. He says lies. He's just trying to keep his basement secret. Yep, that's it. It's and somehow Ferrari ties into that. And two says he's not going to collab. Oh, as a result of the basement thing. Yeah, well, maybe we can have other basement dwellers join in someday on the live stream as well. Let me see where I left off. I don't want to get behind on the other member questions here. So two says, "Keep messing up and we'll replace you, Super X fan." Some say he drinks E85 from the finest wine glass and that he does reviews in suits. He's not Super X fan, but he's his Euro cousin with a degree. He's Saab 92X Aero fan. Nice. Yeah, I'd love to get my hands on one of those reviews someday. I mean, it's going to drive exactly like a WRX wagon, but it just would be fun because I've never actually had a chance to drive one of those. What a fun time in a car world, with Saab just slapping badges on Chevys and on Subarus and just all over the place there for those last years of Saab. I guess it's kind of sad, but also just kind of comical at the same time. And Slam Sedan, I guess I guessed right. He said Camaro took it by about 2 cars. Well, yeah, it's especially that 10-speed. I mean, the 8-speed's great. The ZF 8-speed's better from a driver standpoint, but I feel like the 10-speed might make it rip a little faster in the Camaro. I don't know. And Yavinder, thanks for joining in as well. I hope you're having a good Saturday as well. And Max says, "What do you think would be a good price to pay for a used 2022 BRZ with 8,000 miles, been tracked a couple times, private party?" That's really specific. I mean, I'd have to look up the Blue Book value to see, what private party value is for something like that. I do keep an eye on used BRZ and GR86 prices. And they really haven't budged much. Even ones with like 20,000 miles or so still are going for like 26, 27 grand. So 8,000 miles. I mean, the tracking thing, I guess, could knock it down a little bit, but the miles are so low. Honestly, I don't think it makes sense to buy a used GR86 or BRZ because, I would probably say a car like that on the market should probably go for 28, 29. And a new BRZ you can get for, I mean, I guess it's, 30, 31 now because they added the eyesight stuff for 2024. You're talking a couple grand. I would just buy a new one. And yeah, especially if it's one you're looking at one that's been tracked. I mean, not like that means it's like ruined or anything, but that's, extra wear and tear, on the brakes and on, everything. And so, I don't honestly just buy a new one is my opinion right now until the prices start to cave more, but they are really holding their value really well. So for that reason, it's one of those cars I think it makes more sense just to buy it new. And actually, I've been seeing some dealers even discounting new BRZs. I was looking 2024 BRZs. There's people already offer like $1,000 off of them if you look around, at least on like Auto Trader and stuff. So if you can get a new BRZ for 29 or something, yeah, there's no way a used one makes sense in my opinion right now. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. But I just go find a new one. Let me see. T says, I think you'll be fine until Toyota unleashes a supercar. Well, they're talking about it, right? With the GR thing, that's going to be a GT3 race car as well. Maybe Toyota will have something to challenge Ferrari, and then I'll really have a dilemma on my hands. Evander says, I noticed a new picture on your shelf in the back on the weekly update. Is that a CT5V Blackwing? It is. So you are the first person to notice that. And I guess it's kind of a little glare, so you can't see it super clearly, but it was in the weekly update there a little bit clearer. That is a sketch of a CT5V Blackwing. So this is actually a fun little thing I can do since I'm live here, a little live unboxing. So Cadillac, I don't know if you can hear me with the mic being so far away, but Cadillac sent me a little box to celebrate 20 years of V this week. And it's actually like a big box, and that picture was in it. There was also a nice little handwritten note thanking me for my support of the brand. And there's a bag. I'm not going to get it all out, but there's a scarf in here, as well as what was the other thing that was in here? There's a scarf and a hat. That's what it was. It was a hat. So I mean, I got a whole collection of hats, a couple of V hats I think already, but hat, scarf, and just a nice, like, cool little thing. But honestly, that was my favorite part of it. It was like, whoa, like an actual cool sketch. I may frame it someday, but in the meantime, it's just in some plastic there. But yeah, so, and that's really the first time that a company has sent me like a actual, like, larger, I mean, it's not really like, I guess you could call it a gift, but just kind of like a little, like, package like that. I've gotten a few little things like Christmas cookies from Toyota shill, and things like that in the past. But that was, one of the coolest things that a car company has just sent me out of the blue. And they just like emailed me and they're like, hey, are you okay if we send you something? I'm like, sure. And then this showed up and just was a nice little surprise. They're just, doing this promo thing of celebrating, 20 years of the V brand. And so they sent that over. And, some people might have moral objections to getting gifts from Cadillac, but like, Cadillac could have sent me a box full of dog crap and I still would have the same opinion about a Blackwing. It's still an awesome car. So like getting, a box with a scarf and a cool picture and a hat in it isn't going to like change my opinion. But I know a lot of people would use that as like, oh, look, he's biased. Accepts gifts from manufacturers. It's like, no, like that's not enough to move the needle for me. Maybe for some other people, but that goes back to the whole debate, that Doug and others say about like, oh, well, they wine and dine these journalists on these press trips and all this stuff. It's like, look, like every car company feeds me when I go on a trip. Every car company provides me a place to sleep when I'm on a trip. Like that's not special treatment. I'm not like, wow, like I had a bed to sleep in last night and a dinner. I'm going to say great things about this car. Like, to me, I don't give a crap. So like, but that's like one of the whole things that like his moral high ground of his reviews is like he pays for his own dinners and like that means he's unbiased and the rest of us are just paid off idiots. And that is not the case, at least for me. Anyway, minor little rant there, pulling back the curtain on the Doug annoyances. But anyway, so fun little aside there, but figured while I'm on the live, I can do out of the ordinary little things like that. And Slam Sedan says, I saw a Cadillac Lyric on Thursday. Have you spotted any interesting cars this week? Yeah, I spotted, what was the cool thing that I spotted? I just saw today. Well, actually, so we actually drove down to West Virginia to visit Beth's sister today. And just, it's not super far into West Virginia, but it's just a quick little day trip there and back. And there's a Tesla store on the way down. And Beth's like, oh, look, there's a Cybertruck, but it was like way off, like parked with its lights on for some reason, but it was way off the highway, and I like tried to look, but I couldn't see it. So Beth has now officially from afar seen her first Cybertruck. I still have yet to see one. I'm not looking forward to seeing one for the first time, but she saw that today. But what was the other? I spotted something cool today, and I was like, oh, I'm going to talk about it on the live stream, and now I can't remember what it was. Dang it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll come to me later. One of the funny things we saw was an E60 528i that was gold wrapped, and then he like slapped the badges back on, but they were like diagonal because they weren't put on there very well, and it was scraped on the side and stuff. That was funny to see. But there was something else that was actually like cool. I don't know why. I don't remember what it was. Maybe it'll come to me later. Anyway. But it's cool you saw a Lyric though. I was supposed to have a Lyric press car this week, and then they were like, "We can't deliver it to you because the driver's seat isn't moving." So not sure if that's a Lyric thing in general, or if that was just that car, something got broken or what. So they ended up swapping it in for a Kia Seltos that I have for the press car this week. So hopefully I'll get a chance to drive the Lyric at some point here down the road, but they're gonna have to reschedule that one once they figure out what's going on with the driver's seat. And Veslin says closest last Toyota product to supercar is the LC500, and I love it. Seems this era is dead, so next will be the EV hybrid type. Yeah, LC500 is amazing as well, but I think the era is not dead yet. I think we still have, especially now with the EU relaxing their regulations and the US making theirs a little less stringent. I feel like everyone kind of has a hall pass now till 2030 to kind of do whatever they want. For the most part, I mean, there is some ramping up of emissions regulations in 2027. So there's still, it's going to still get a little more stringent here, but I wouldn't say that, all the fun times are over just yet. But I mean, Toyota is going to be one of the last ones to go down as far as, the fire breathing stuff, I think. So, there's patent images of the GT3 car. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. I'm not sure how long it'll last or how many of them they will build, but it is something that is happening because they want to race it in GT3. So you got to have a homologation special, if nothing else. So I think they're going to do it. We'll just see what they, how far they go and all that. And Kyle says, I saw a Hummer EV yesterday. That vehicle stands out so much, especially just stopped at a light. Yeah, actually, I saw a Hummer EV at the airport about a week ago or so, and it was the SUV version, which I actually don't think I've seen an SUV version until last week. I've seen the trucks, but the SUVs haven't been quite as common since they were, a little bit of a later launch. So that was kind of cool to see. I was supposed to review one or have one at some point, but I think that ended up getting put on the back burner, I guess, I don't think they ever got the vehicle in that the loan company was expecting them to get in. But anyway, maybe I'll have that at some point. It's going to drive the same as the truck, but it's a fun thing to drive around in for a week. So I wouldn't say no to the SUV as well. Slam Sedan says he saw 3 Cybertrucks being transported. Crazy. Man, that's going to be a heavy load. And Zachary says, there are only 2 worlds that exist simultaneously. One in which I want you to keep your Bullitt forever, and the other in which I want you to sell it to me. Well, Zachary, if you are interested, send me an email in the description of this video here. It's just mattmoranmotoring@gmail.com. If you're serious about wanting to buy it off me, send me an email. Because I'm not announcing anything just yet, but pretty certain that the Bullets is probably going to go away. Not 100%, but pretty close. So I will save that whole thing for another time. But if you are serious, you're gonna want to message me pretty soon, because I'm taking steps to look into what stuff what road I want to go down as far as getting rid of it, most likely. So yes, definitely. So I know, and a lot of people are probably in that same camp. But yeah, there's probably going to be a big change here, most likely coming, fairly soon. So yeah, stay tuned for all the details on that one. And Two says, so what do you think would make EVs an undisputed choice? For me, it would be finishing in 24 hours of Le Mans and a successful police EV car. I think for me, I think when the solid state stuff comes, that's when it's going to really be game over. Because if solid state gives you close to 5-minute recharge times and 600 miles of range, I mean, that is better than any gas car can do, honestly. It takes you 5 minutes to fill up a gas car, and none of them have that kind of range unless you're talking about like something with a small diesel engine and a giant gas tank. So that is going to be it, as long as the infrastructure is there to support that still. But even if it's 5 minutes to recharge. So, it should make even the infrastructure burden less. And solid state batteries are also lighter, so they're not going to have to be these giant rolling bank vaults in order to have decent range either. And I think, again, when you tell people no more oil changes, no more standing out in the cold to fill up for gas, or especially the safety concerns that a lot of people now have about filling up gas, none of that, because it's always fully charged in your garage every night. And then just the fact that it's instant power, it's probably more reliable, there's less moving parts, all those things. That's when you're not going to have to try and convince people. If the price is right and you have those specs, the average person is not going to care about missing out on, the rumble of an engine or anything. They'll say, sweet, I never have to service my car again, basically. Done, and that'll be it. Everyone will switch quickly once the tech is there and the price is right. It's just those two things. Jeremy, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, which car do you think is not selling well right now but could be a future classic? I'm thinking Supra. Yeah, I think Supra could be one. That's like an interesting question, though. Not selling well currently, but could be a classic in the future. Well, I think Camaros. I think, the Camaros are always, the last place, seller in the muscle car world, but that means they're going to be some of the most rare. And, look at Barrett Jackson and stuff like that. What's the valuable stuff? It's not the stuff that they churned out tons of. It's the rare stuff. So I think that Camaro could actually end up flipping and being the most desirable one of the bunch, pretty soon. Honestly, I don't even expect them to depreciate much, because the time's already up to get one. So anyone who wants one is already, like, anyone who has one currently, they have a commodity that isn't going to be replaced. The Bullitt, as cool as it is, they're going to keep churning out V8 Mustangs for many, many more years. It's not exactly a Bullitt, but same basic thing for the most part. And you can go out and get that, indefinitely for the foreseeable future. So I think Camaro is going to be, Challenger and Charger obviously are going to have that same kind of appeal, because again, it's the last stand of the V8s and that's going away. So there's some of that, but at least with that, you have a new Charger, even if it's not what everyone wants or sticking to the same formula. There is at least a successor, unlike the Camaro. But as far as outside of that car, I feel like there are a couple, but that's a kind of question I really probably need to like sit down and think hard about. Because, I think there's some underappreciated stuff I've said in the past, like Lexus GSF, RCF. I think LC500. There is really starting to be a growing appreciation for those recently, but I think that's one that, could really become even more valuable down the road. I'm trying to think of other stuff. I don't know. I'm kind of blanking right now, but I feel like there's definitely some stuff out there that's, I think also, any of the manual stuff, anything with a manual transmission is going to be a novelty in 30 years, So I think anything like that, whether you're talking about something that's made in larger numbers or some of the more rare stuff, the manual M's, I think, are going to be the most desirable ones, even though right now, the manual M3 and M4s are the slowest ones. They're going to be the most desirable. I think those are going to be the ones that fetch the big money down the road, outside of the rare, like, 1 of 5 edition stuff. But, as far as regular M3s and M4s goes, I think the manual is going to be the better buy if you're going to buy and hold, from a collector standpoint. I'm trying to think of anything else. I don't know. I think that's about all I can think of off the top of my head, but that's it. Let me see. Thanks for being a member for 22 months. One of the longest running members here. I really appreciate it. He says, Matt, stop having kids. The basement is not a good choice of childcare. No, yeah, he says, rest in peace, Bullitt. No, it doesn't really have anything to do with, having kids or anything. It's the Bullitt is most likely just going to go away, because at the end of the day, this channel is just not as profitable as it once was. And I really love what I do. And Again, I'll get more into this, in a full, video if I actually do decide to pull the trigger on that. But, it's just when I bought the Bullitt, the channel was in its peak. July of 2018, whenever I took delivery of the Bullitt that month, that was the most views I've ever gotten in a month on YouTube ever. That was the peak of the channel of all time. And then it was a slow decline from that point on. And it's never really recovered. And so it can only just drop so much before it's like, well, do I just do a new job now? Or do I, get rid of the Bullitt and, have some equity there to help keep things afloat and try and, improve things a little bit and kind of cut back on, our expenses and things like that. So, so I think, it just is coming down to Bullitt or keep doing this job. And to me, I'd rather keep this job than keep the Bullitt. So that's kind of, and it, the Bullitt hardly ever gets driven. I mean, this past 2 months, I didn't have any press cars. So this was a rare, opportunity for me to drive it like a regular car. But, I have press cars now scheduled from now until July. Every single week most weeks I have 2 press cars, but literally, I mean, when this Celtos showed up and it was the first press car out of this whole rotation I'm going to have at least till July, if not further, the Bullitt literally is not going to move aside from being an airport runner. And that car is too cool to just be a car that shuttles me back and forth to the airport and then otherwise just sits in the garage during the prime driving months of the year. And so that's another reason why it's I don't have time to drive it. That's been my problem for the past 4 years, basically out of the 6 years almost that I've owned it. Is just that I don't ever have time to drive it. And it's not a complaint. I get to drive all kinds of other really cool stuff all the time, but it's just, I'm not going to miss it that much because it's not something I experience every day. And it's worth too much to just have a 40 grand paperweight sitting in the garage for no reason. I mean, maybe it'll, be an investment and appreciate someday and, all that, but I right now can't afford to, mothball something that's that valuable. And, I just could use the money. So that's mainly going to be the main reason why it's most likely going away. But again, nothing final just yet. Stay tuned. But yeah, it's just, I'm hoping the channel turns around someday, but it's just, there's no way I can keep the Bullitt and keep doing this job. But Blue Collar Jose, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, hey, Matt, what cars would you replace the Bullitt with? So if I do end up doing this, again, because like I said, I don't have any time to drive anything that I own personally, I'm actually just not going to replace it. I'm not going to have a car. We'll just have Beth's Mach-E, and then I'll always have press cars, most weeks. And that's kind of a running joke in the industry. Like half of the journalists don't actually own their own car. They don't have a car because they're always in a press car. And so, what's the point of paying insurance, paying for a lot of people in other states, having to pay property taxes on their cars every year when they don't ever move, so, I'm not going to have any car most likely if once I sell the Bullitt, and we'll just have the Mach-E and press cars. And that should keep us covered, with at least 2 to 3 cars every week still to drive, and should be totally fine. And, I can always just Uber to the airport and things like that if I can't take a press car for whatever reason. So, so yeah, and then if someday the channel improves to a point where I can consider looking at, having another car just for fun, there's all kinds of stuff I'd consider. Like I've said a long time ago, many times, I love GR86s and BRZs, and I'd love to own another one of those. So that would be a possibility. So we will see. But there's other things too that I've considered as well. So there's just few different things on the table, but I'm not even going to consider them seriously because for now the game plan is to just sell a Bullitt, save the money on car insurance, save the money on, having an extra car there, and just, bank that savings in addition to, cashing out of the equity on the Bullitt that it has. Two says, wait, are you buying the purple? Never mind, that's a secret. Yeah, not the purple Geo Metro. That would be that would be fun. That was suggested in past weekly updates. So thank you for the super chat too. And let me see. Gabriel, thank you so much for a super chat. He says the GD Magma looks cool and looks like they made it wider. I would have brought the car brought the car if they were selling it in the States. Yeah, it's a shame that they're not offering the GD. I don't know why. It's just a strange decision. Like, and also like the fact that it's not even going to be offered in Korea in the home market, but they're selling it in the Middle East. Just, usually if there's a car that's Middle East exclusive, it's either to dodge like safety regulations that other countries have, or it's just like super high end, rich people kind of stuff. But the Magma is not either of those things. So yeah, I if I was in New York, I would have loved to ask them why. And I'm hoping somebody did, but I haven't seen any news reports yet as far as why Genesis made that decision, but hopefully we'll get more info on that at some point down the road. And Kyle, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships there. I really appreciate it. And glad to see those. We're able to grab those up. And I always appreciate the support every week, Kyle. It means a lot. And let me see, getting back to the member questions here. Yeah, Yavinder's asking about the Bullitt. Yeah, so like I said, hasn't been totally confirmed yet. But you guys are the first to hear that it is most likely going away. And Slam Sedan, I appreciate that as well. And Two says, also fun fact, my girlfriend used to work at the Tesla plant in December, and you may wonder how a man tied to a radiator in a basement can have a girlfriend when he should be writing scripts. I can't say. Well, I'm sure you find some way to, sneak out of the handcuffs. Little Rockstar RS says, hi, Matt. Happy weekend and Saturday. Hope you and the family have been having a blessed weekend. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hope you have a great weekend here and been having a good Saturday as well. Yavinder's asking about 370Z, maybe as far as what I would replace the Bullitt with. Not a 370Z guy personally. It's a fun car in its own right, but I have several holdups as far as why I personally wouldn't own one. Two says, Kyle, it's Kyle's fault letting me run free for an hour, allegedly. Jokes on me. I keep coming back. Yep. Two he keeps on coming back. Somehow he's able to afford super chats while being stuck in the basement. There must be some kind of work from home arrangement you have down there. Something, because otherwise I don't know how you're getting the money for super chats in the basement. Veslin says, Matt, I believe MX-5 RF and G86 currently are around 33 to 37 grand in the US. If you have 40 for a car, do you consider older cars or stick with these two for that type of car, like a car to keep for long-term fun? Those would be great, great options. Yeah, both of those. Yeah, G86, I think you could actually get one even a little bit under 33, honestly. Miata RF is great too. Personally, I like the soft top version of the Miata better than the RF. But both are fantastic, and both are, right at the top of my list if I were to buy another car down the road. The only thing keeping me from the MX-5 is just not being able to bring my daughter in it. Because there's no, in the US here, the Miatas don't have the top tether anchor for car seats. Anyone who's a parent and is in the world of car seats and stuff, there's no top tether anchor in the Miata. I've checked. So as a result, there's not a great way to mount a car seat that, wants you to have that top tether anchor. So, Miata could be an option once she's in a booster seat, but that's several years away. So most likely, you guys know me at this point on this channel. If I were to buy something new, it would be a G86 most likely, or maybe a BRZ if the World Rally Blue paint. Gotta slow down. If that just is too strong of an appeal, even though I like the way the suspension set up better than the G86, and I'd rather support Toyota over Subaru, just because of Toyota being easier to work with and being the company I'd rather support out of the two. But yeah, I most likely, if the money situation were to improve, I'd probably just go and pick up a G86. Let me see. Vesden says, don't sell the Bullitt if you can't afford a similar car. Yeah, like I said, I'm just probably bank it. I'm not gonna buy anything new. And let me see. Joel says, just realized the live talk is happening today. Hope I didn't miss too much. Yeah, aside from the bombshell, the Bullitt is potentially going away. Other than that, it's just been the usual good car chat in here. And Two says, so I don't know why Tesla. Look, you have people in the Bay Area who are not car people assembling cars. So why would you pay so much for a Tesla? By the way, my girlfriend is going to kill me. Tesla's fit and finish hasn't been great. Maybe it's been improved recently, but Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just the Model Y was the best selling vehicle in the world last year. So clearly Tesla's doing something right, and a lot of people don't mind, the shortcomings that they have. And, so more power to them. Let the market decide. And the market is clearly choosing the Model Y as their favorite vehicle in the world currently. I mean, but I don't think the styling is something that would warrant a best-selling vehicle in the world, or the fit and finish, or the features, or a wide variety of other things. But hey, the numbers are the numbers, and it is what it is. And Veslin says, thanks for the answers. Good luck. I appreciate it. Thanks for the super chat there, Veslin. It really, really means a lot as well. And let me see. Two says, talking about her livelihood. Good thing she'll never watch these, which is good because she doesn't need to know about the questionable things that goes on down here. Yeah. And Sean says, thanks for the membership, Kyle. Joel says, Matt, I just returned the Model 3 I rented from Turo today. The highlight for me was the way it handled it. It was really good. I kind of want one now, but I can't stand the range anxiety. Heavy foot here. Nice. Well, I'm glad. Yeah, thanks for letting me know about how it went for you there. I'm glad you enjoyed it, but yeah, the range thing, it just comes down to, people's lifestyles. And if you drive a ton of miles, all the time, and you don't have a place to charge, every night, then I totally can understand. I was actually just talking to one of Beth's friends who was considering getting rid of her car, and she was kind of talking about how she'd really like a Volvo, and I was like, oh, what? There's a really cool thing called the EX30. She was saying she wanted like a small SUV. I'm like, oh, there's an EX30. It's a really cool little thing coming. Like, you probably really like it. And then I'm like, but it is electric. And she's like, yeah, I live in an apartment complex. She's like, I can't do it. She's like, there's a couple people in my apartment complex that actually do like run extension cords from some outlet somewhere and run these things across the lawn to like plug in their EVs. She's like, a couple people do it. She's like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, yeah, like, don't do that. That's crazy. Like, don't get an EV. So definitely not something I recommend. If you can't charge at home, it just is going to be tough. I think one or two people commented either in one of the videos or here in the live streams in the past and said that they do live in an apartment and they just plug it in once a week when they go get groceries, and it works for them. And for some people, maybe that does work, but I agree. If you're not able to charge every night, just the range anxiety thing would be annoying. But like our Mach-E's got less range than even a Model 3. We got 220 miles of range, and we never even use half that range in a day, not even close. So, and road trips are very, very rare and very manageable if you plan it out, in my opinion. But it's not for everyone right now, and that's just the way it is with early tech and early adopter stuff. There's some extra legwork there, some extra hoops you got to jump through, and I totally respect anyone that doesn't want to bother themselves with that. It's totally understandable. Sean says, hey Matt, have you thought of collaborating? Okay, I already answered that a little bit earlier there. Hopefully you didn't miss my answer, but I'm totally open to doing collabs with the YouTubers on live streams. Slam Sedan says, materialistic things come and go. Proud of you for making the best decisions for you and your family. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to is, again, because of the dropping revenue and stuff, it's just instead of putting the family in a more stressful situation just so I can have this cool car that collects dust in the garage, like, it's just, as much as I love it and I plan to keep the car forever and hand it down to my daughter and have it be this family heirloom. That was the plan. It was 200,000 miles I want to put on it someday. I had all kinds of plans, but I have to play with the cards I'm dealt, and these are the cards I'm dealt, and so I gotta be responsible, and so that means most likely selling off the Bullitt there. And two says, allegedly, I need to add allegedly we're trapped. I mean, dwellers. In Matt's words, notice how he's said we're dwellers, Kyle, and not kidnapped. Allegedly. Yeah, maybe one of these live streams I'll do a basement tour, and you can see the litter boxes and the furnace and basically nothing else down there. I promise two isn't actually in the basement. And two, thanks for the super chat as well. He says, is the Ford drive program worth it? 1 second, my butt. So I'm not sure what drive program you're talking about. But yeah, there's Tesla was saying they were going to do like what, a 1 second 0 to 60 with the Roadster with the rocket boosters on it or whatever, and I'll believe that one when I see it. But anyway, let me see. Getting back to some other non-member questions here. So Corvette fan says, what do you think of the BMW iX? My neighbors just got their 2024 iX xDrive 50 last week. It's a big upgrade from their 2021 RX 450h. So iX is, in my opinion, I think it's hideous, but that's a subjective thing. So, I mean, beside that, I don't know because I've never driven one. BMW does not invite me on press drives. They won't send me press vehicles. So it's a real blind spot that I have, that I have really no experience in any modern BMWs outside of, I did a quick drive in a Z4. I just did my review on the 330i of this generation 3 series. And I mean, I did the M2 that a fan offered me. That's it. So I have no clue how any of these BMWs are, to be totally honest. I wish I had a better answer. On paper, it doesn't seem like it's anything exceptional from a value standpoint or a performance or packaging standpoint. Because I did do a little bit of cross shopping with that whenever I was doing my research for my Audi Q8 e-tron thing? Is that what it's called? The e-tron SUV that was previously just called the e-tron, and then they added numbers and letters to it to make it more confusing. But that thing, was kind of a competitor to the iX, and I came away just being like, from the numbers, I feel like I'd probably rather have the Audi, but I haven't driven the BMW to say, so I don't know. The one thing going for the iX is that Larry David drives one. If any of you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, I'm a big fan of that, and it's been funny seeing him drive an iX in basically every episode. So that's the only redeeming thing that I see for the iX, just as someone who's a Larry David fan. But other than that, I just don't have any info on the iX, unfortunately. But if there's a good discount on it, and it fits what someone's looking for, then I'm sure it's a great option. Let me see. Dave says, other YouTubers say that watch time is now more important than views. Is there a way for you to do longer format videos? I've been kind of like on the fence about, this, because, I have no problem talking about cars for far longer than I should. This whole live stream is an example of that. But, I could make hour-long car reviews. I just, I don't know, maybe I'm just an outlier, but when I look at like what videos I actually want to watch on YouTube, they're short. I don't have time to sit through a 30-minute car review myself. So like making that video, hoping that other people have that kind of time, when I know that everyone's so torn with having millions of subscriptions, having awesome, all kinds of shows, and everyone having a million different, TV streaming things of catching up on all your shows and movies and social media. And, everyone's got enough stuff in life that I feel like I shouldn't expect people to sit down and watch super long videos from me. This is why I've been trying to get the length of my reviews actually lower, aside from like the weekly updates. Those are always just going to be however long they are. It just comes down to what news there is that week. But, so watch time is more important, but it's got to be watch time that is, keeping the viewer interested. And yes, if you have a long video, chances are that at least a few people will stick around. But, when you're talking about averages, it's going to average out to whatever, the amount of video is that is the most appealing to people. And I mean, even like the weekly updates, which there's a lot of people that really love those, that watch it the whole way through. Even those, the average watch time is 9 to 10 minutes. And all of those are, 25 to 35 minutes. Even like the 44-minute one that I did 2 weeks ago, or I guess technically last week, that one, I think that was like a 12-minute watch time on even that one. So it's really more about just keeping people engaged, because if you can make a 20-minute video and have people stick around for 12 minutes, like that still is the same effect from a watch time standpoint. So I think that, yes, like, we need to focus on longer videos. So like, I mean, it's not great with like my little live stream clips being so short, but like that at least keeps the momentum going on the channel and keeps the channel in people's minds. Because one of the big things with the algorithm, I keep doing more and more research about the algorithm to, again, try to turn this channel around, views wise. And really the algorithm, it's all about recent watch history. And so I think that is part of the component of why daily upload channels sometimes do better, is that those channels, even if you're not watching every day, there's more chances of you seeing something from that creator that you actually want to watch in a more recent time span. So if, any one of us, post a review every single day, chances are, you'll maybe watch more reviews than if it was just me posting 2 car reviews a week. I got 2 chances to appeal to you in the course of a week. And if either of those cars don't appeal to you, then I drop off of your algorithm, so to speak, because it's so focused on recent watch history. After someone passes on a few videos, then the algorithm essentially just unsubscribes you until you go back and manually start watching again. So that's why someone else just asked this on a post I just did not too long ago as well. That was like, it's so weird how the algorithm like never suggests your stuff anymore. And it's like, it's because you haven't watched recently. If you watch on a regular basis, the algorithm should put it in your feed, according to YouTube at least. But if you want to see stuff on the channel without any algorithmic influence, just go to your subscriptions feed. And I know for some people, if you have thousands of subscriptions, that might be a cluster of confusion. But, I would just say try and trim back your subscriptions to channels you actually truly want to see regular uploads from, and then just, try to go out of your sub feed if you want to not have that algorithm trying to just give you crappy recommendations all the time. And then ideally, if you really want to, make sure you never miss an upload from a channel, do the notifications, bell thingy or whatever. But yeah, watch time is definitely the most important. It's more important than views. It's more important than click-through rate. It's more important than anything. It's watch time. And it just goes back to, YouTube wants to keep you on the platform, and they assume if you're staying on for videos for a longer period of time and you're staying on a channel for a longer period of time, then like that channel is very satisfying to that viewer. It's very good content, because otherwise you would click away. So if you're not clicking away, then that sends a big signal like, whoa, this is the best thing ever, versus just, clickbait. You click on it. If it's garbage, you click away, 30 seconds later. That's why YouTube doesn't care about views anymore. They are all about that watch time. And I think it's smart to focus on that. And this is why, when people ask how to support the channel, that's the best way to do it, is watch the video all the way through, or watch it until you're bored and mute it and, minimize it or whatever, but let it keep playing or whatever you want to do. And then, just YouTube seeing that you're watching that all the way through sends a stronger message than anything else can. And I guess the only other thing is, there are those little surveys some of you might have seen where it'll ask you what you think about a video you just watched recently. Those are also very influential. But that and watch time are really the kings right now. That helps more than anything. Anyway, let me see. Brian says, sounds like the Bullitt is destined for cars and bids. Doug will be happy with you. Absolutely not going on cars and bids. Absolutely not. I would rather put a for sale sign on the windshield and park it in the yard than I would to put it on cars and bids. No, it's not happening. That's for sure. I'm not doing business with cars and bids. And the 2 says, sure, Matt, the litter box is the furnace and the blood and guts. And someone mentioned Doug. So here we go. Thanks for hanging in there too. I appreciate the laughs all the time. And Hugo, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, hey, Matt, hope you're doing well. What are your honest opinions about the new 4Runner? Do you think it might just be a copycat of the Tacoma, just like Tundra and Sequoia? It sounds like Toyota might. Absolutely. That's what I would expect. I would totally expect. Just as 2 joked, a Tacoma with a bed. But no, a Tacoma with a cab is what you should expect. Same engines, same transmissions, which I think means we will see the return of a manual 4Runner. I don't have any inside info yet to share, but I just can say that that's most likely, again, just because I really think it's gonna be copy paste Tacoma. So if that's the case, then there's no reason to not offer the manual since it's all there. So, and it would get them a lot of brownie points from enthusiasts and journalists alike. I think so. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to be it. And it sounds like, from that little teaser we just saw yesterday, it's going to be very evolutionary as far as at least the taillights look like they're going to be pretty close to the old ones and stuff. So I'm guessing, new Tacoma front end with maybe a few little tweaks, back end pretty similar to the old Tacoma, same kind of shape. And then really to me, the big question is going to be how they price it and how they position it. Because, with Land Cruiser starting at, what is it, 57.5? Is that what they said? They announced pricing recently. I think that was what they said for it. So, I mean, you don't have a lot to work with there, because a Tacoma, even just a regular Tacoma, the limiteds, I think you can get those up into what, like 53, 54. There's not much margin there. Even if Tacoma, or even if 4Runner matches Tacoma on pricing, you're at 54, and Land Cruiser's $3,000 more. I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see how they play that. And then, we don't even know the pricing for the iForce Max versions of Tacoma yet. But then if they throw that engine in the 4Runner, then again, you're stepping on, Land Cruiser pricing almost certainly. So that's going to be I'm not envious of whoever has to price that thing, because I don't know how that's going to really be really tightly packed. So I'm very curious to get pricing on 4Runner at some point down the road, because that's going to be the real mystery. But yeah, I think that's a safe bet. And, based on that teaser, it sounds like we don't have much longer to wait for a debut. Because Toyota usually doesn't drag that stuff out too long. So, we should be seeing some new 4Runner stuff officially here, pretty soon. And getting back to other member questions here. And thanks again, Hugo, for the super chat. Sean says, is driving cars for a dealership a good side/weekend job? I don't know. I mean, I haven't really heard from anyone who's done that as far as what that, would be. Driving cars. I mean, I guess maybe if they need to, have stuff picked up or delivered, things like that, maybe. But yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it would be probably better than Ubering or something like that if the pay is decent. I just think usually the pay is probably, crappy, because usually the only people I see being like drivers for dealerships typically are, either younger people, they're just doing it, for college or whatever, or, old, like retired people that have, not a whole lot going on, that are fine making $15 an hour to, drive around all day or whatever. So, but again, I don't know enough about that job market currently to say anything, intelligent. And Slamson asks, the only social media I use is TikTok. Other than that, YouTube, I don't like streaming services. I watch your Friday updates at work as background. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, I think TikTok is just one of the biggest things that's, all YouTubers are really struggling with is, again, that's just most people just are happy to just hang out on TikTok for a little bit and haven't, bothered to, go on YouTube as much anymore. And so, I think, the car review space is a little safer from that, because if you want a thorough review, you're not going to get that on TikTok. You're just not. So, I think that there's some insulation there. If you're a serious car buyer, you're going to go on YouTube and, and try and get that. I think search is also really important too, because I don't think TikTok really has much search. And if you're wanting to search for a video, YouTube is still just the place you're going to go, So, I think the fact that YouTube doesn't have everything in an algorithmic feed is an actual big perk of it, because, you want to learn how to fix a toilet or something. You just type it in and it comes right up. And so I think, that's still going to be, I think YouTube's staying power is the ability to search and find exactly what you're looking for, versus waiting for an algorithm to serve you up the right thing. And let me see. Dave says, would an interview format work for you? Yeah, interviews are cool. I've done a couple of interviews in the past. I interviewed the owner of the actual Bullitt movie car back in 2018. That was really cool. And I'm open to other interviews, honestly. And I have opportunities they ask me sometimes on some of these drive events, like, would you like in a time slot with an executive to, have some interview questions? The thing is, usually, I mean, every once in a while I come up with a good question, but a lot of the stuff is always going back to feature product, which they will just immediately say, we don't talk about feature product. And so it'd be a 5-second video. It'd be great for TikTok. I could ask them a really good question and then they just say no comment and then the end. But no, I mean, I've had some good conversations with engineers and executives in the past. But most of those, for me, the best ones where I actually do get some really good insight typically come in casual, when we're sitting at dinner chatting, or, just times where they're not having a camera stare them in the face. I mean, they're happy to be interviewed on camera and stuff, but, the most, even if sometimes they will, kind of do wink, wink, nudge, nudge for some stuff, that kind of stuff, they were things that they would only mention, off camera or things like that. So, yeah, if I could do interviews well, I would love to do more. It's mostly just kind of coming prepared with really good questions and and kind of knowing I'm going to actually get something that's worth filming, but it's also, with being a one-man crew, it makes it a little bit harder for me because I don't have as much free time because I got to go out and film all my B-roll and I got to do all this extra stuff versus some others that can maybe knock out a video in an hour on their own. And then, they have time to sit there and, do an interview with an executive or something. But it's something I want to do more of for sure, because I think there's some real value there. And I think that's something that I'm underutilizing is you have these awesome, very powerful people in these car companies that I get to, have lunch and dinner with and things like that and hang out and chat with. But, I don't get to bring those things. I haven't done a good job of bringing those things to you guys. And so I really want to find a way to do more of those interviews. I think that would be it's a great idea. It's just, trying to do it and do it well and having the time to do it. It just takes some extra effort and some extra, preparation, but that's something I definitely would like to do. And if I have a chance on this next Toyota drive, that may be something that I, kind of look into. Like, for example, if I'm talking to them about, 4Runner or something, maybe an interview of like, how did you arrive at the pricing? I'm not sure how much, again, they'd be willing to share about that, but, being like, this was a really tough thing to price. How did you do it? What did you look at? Maybe something like that, would be cool. If you're talking about other interview, things as far as I see too, thanks for the super chat. He says, interview Doug. That would be a very interesting interview. That would be, I mean, I'm not opposed. Me and Doug went back and forth in some Facebook comments a few years back. But he would never agree. I'm not worth his time by any stretch of the imagination for sure. But I wouldn't say no if he wanted to do an on-screen chat someday. That would be that'd be interesting. But best, I wish him all the best, and we'll move off that one there. Slam says Matt Brand presents car beefs. Yeah, and I don't want to bring drama. I mean, it's a good way to get views, but unfortunately, I'm not the type that's willing to clickbait or to drum up drama just for views, unlike some other YouTubers out there are. So it's something I'm going to try and stay away from if at all possible. Unless someone drags me into something, I will defend myself, but I'm not gonna start stuff if I don't need to. Let me see. Spy Harpy says, with 440,000 subscribers, it's odd you only have 4,000 to 6,000 views on your videos. Yeah, it's just, I mean, honestly, I'm grateful I even get that many, because like Saab Kyle is getting similar views to me with more than double the subscribers of me. And it's the same thing of just, we're the old timers in the car review space pretty much. And, it's just, I think a lot of it is just, there's a lot of people that probably should have unsubscribed a long time ago who didn't, and they're just still subscribed. I think most of those subscribers are just not around anymore. I think there's also with, car reviews in particular, I think there's a lot of, because my job is to try and, educate and inform non-car people as well. And I think that a lot of my subscribers are probably people who say, okay, like I'm looking for a car. I'm going to subscribe to this person, or we're happy with the advice I gave them. They subscribed. Oh, I'm going to bookmark this channel for the next time I need to buy a car in 5 years. And so they bookmark my channel with a subscription, and then the algorithm drops them off of my thing because they're like, okay, I bought a car. I'm done. I don't need to worry about cars anymore for the next 5 years or however long it is. And then my channel drops off their feed. And then, maybe in 5 years, they, okay, I'm ready for something new. And they, go and look me up, and, I'm there in the subscription feed. They start watching a couple of videos again, and then they drop off again 5 years later. And honestly, like if you're not an enthusiast, then that type of viewership actually tells me I'm doing my job right from a car advice standpoint, even though it's a horrible business model for YouTube. I'm hoping that I give people good advice. They're happy with their choice. And if you're not an enthusiast, you don't need to worry about your car. You're happy with it. And, there's no need to watch my videos, honestly, so it just, straddling those two worlds of entertaining enthusiast stuff as well as just consumer advice is the thing that makes it tough. And that's why subscribers are just really kind of a unreliable metric for this channel, because 70% of my views come from non-subscribers, even with 440,000. And there's also some YouTube components where, YouTube only shows my videos to, roughly 100,000 people typically who even get the opportunity to click. Like 100,000 people see the thumbnail. That's it. So like 1/4 of my subscribers on a good day. Most of the time it's actually much less because it's like 30% of those 100,000 are actual subscribers. So you're talking 30,000 people out of 440,000 even know that I posted something. So that's part of the algorithm. That's why, like I said, if you want to actually see stuff from your creators without the algorithm's BS, you got to just go through the sub feed. That's the only way to see things objectively without the influence of the algorithm. Let me see. Where was I? Oh, Veslin, thank you so much for super chat again. He says, I like almost everything long format, podcasts, extended reviews. That's how you can understand deeply. I hate short stuff apart from marketing. It's a waste of time, attention seeking with no content. Yeah, well, I agree. There's a lot of that kind of stuff out there, and but it does work for a lot of people still, and still makes a lot of people very rich. So and I mean that I agree. I like doing long stuff. That's been one of the struggles with me with TikTok. That's why I didn't embrace TikTok and stuff, because like to me, to do a kind of video that I want to do where I really give people good information, well supported arguments for why this car is better than that car, or why this is the greatest thing ever, or why this sucks or whatever, like you need more than 60 seconds. You need more than a couple of minutes, in my opinion. And so that's why I love the long format stuff. But unfortunately, just with the shrinking attention spans of most people, again, with TikTok and stuff like that, accelerating that, it's just a shrinking audience. And so that's why everyone's views are shrinking. Doug's views are shrinking. Everyone's views are shrinking. Some are doing better than others and some are still growing. But I'd say the large majority of car channels are all shrinking with their viewership, or they're struggling to tread water. And so it's just the changing world that we're living in from a media standpoint and the way people consume media. And so that's just, but again, it's one of those things you got to just change with the times or you become irrelevant. And so it's just trying to find ways to reinvent yourself while still staying true to the kind of content you want to make and the kind of person you are. It's just, it's tough, let me see. Veslin also said 10 years algorithms are made to count activity. I mean, you're correct. Recent activity, recent views, even the algorithm counts how many times you enter your account in Rotor to know how active you are. Yeah, YouTube tracks all the metrics, and so they're trying to give you the best experience possible on YouTube. And so, I think the algorithm certainly isn't as smart as it should be still, but, they do a pretty good job of, I think, trying to figure out, at least from people's watch history and the things that YouTube does know about you as far as, what it thinks you might actually like. But Slam Sedan says YouTube shadow banning. I used to think that there was some of that kind of stuff going on. But I really these days just think it's the way the algorithm is built. And that combined with the fact that, it's just that people are over, my channel, Kyle's channel, and others. If you see a new fresh face, that's more exciting, and some people just get bored of, Matt Moran videos after, 12 years of car reviews. Like, I get it. So I think there's honestly some of that. I wanted to blame everything on the algorithm in the past. And again, there is some blame there because I'm not, my stuff isn't going out to even a fraction of my subscribers. But at the end of the day, like, if it's a good video, it should rise to the top. And I think YouTube is also working on some new stuff. I think it's a cool new thing. I don't think I'm able to discuss it just yet, but they asked my reaction about a potential new feature that I think has some hope to potentially bring extra attention to videos that should be getting views if maybe they aren't, and the algorithm isn't picking up on it. This could be a new way to tell the algorithm hey, this is a great video. This should be higher up, and more popular than it is. So I'm hoping, I think YouTube really is seeing the struggle out there. I think they are trying to find ways to be like, okay, there's really good videos that are being undiscovered. The algorithm isn't doing the best job. How do we let the viewers influence this more? And I think that they're working on that. I hope that they, come up with the right solutions for that. Because again, I love doing this job. I don't want to stop, but it just gets harder and harder as time goes on. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But I don't want this whole live stream to be a bunch of self-loathing or anything. So we'll keep it moving here. But I appreciate all the support and all the questions about that as well. And Fook says pedal cam plus drive bare feet equals watch time. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be I wouldn't be totally opposed to that at this point. If that's the solution, sign me up. I'm more than happy to drive around barefoot and post those videos. Maybe that could be on the Maran OnlyFans. And let me see. Someone's discussing Baby Driver. Theodore asked, did you ever see Baby Driver? I'm watching it now. It's really good, kind of violent for the misses, but it's good. I love Baby Driver. That was fantastic. So yeah, thanks for highlighting that, Dave. I have it on my collection back there. I saw it in theaters. I loved it. Actually, Beth and I, one year for Halloween, I dressed up as Baby Driver, and she was the girlfriend. I can't remember her name now, but we actually went as them for Halloween one year. Baby Driver is one of the few good car movies in recent times, in my opinion, where all the stunts were real. And that to me is always way cooler than seeing all the CGI crap that you see in Fast and Furious and stuff. Like real stunts are real excitement to me. Like that's like, holy crap, there's an actual person behind the wheel doing that. Sweet. And that's what I loved about Baby Driver, in addition to the awesome soundtrack, and just good car action. It really is like such a rare thing to have like a full movie that's like mostly just real good car stuff now. It's just like, yeah, Baby Driver is, I think, a really underappreciated movie that's, I think, going to be a future classic in my opinion, but maybe I'm just biased. And 2 says 4Runner should be a two-row Sequoia on a Taco platform, so V6 twin turbo would not step on Land Cruiser. I think it kind of would, because if you're talking about two-row Sequoia on Taco platform, I mean, it's a little bit bigger, but you're kind of talking about GX there with the twin turbo V6. But if they made a smaller thing, yeah, I don't know. I feel like that would then mess up the hierarchy. You'd have to then price 4Runner above Land Cruiser, and then at that point you're probably just better off. People are just going to go for the GX because it's bigger. So again, it's a real tough position they have, for themselves there. And let me see. Hugo says you should fly to Canada and do a collab with Straight Pipes or Throttle House. I'd love to do a collab with Straight Pipes. I've met them a couple of times. They're awesome dudes. Me and Yuri chat every once in a while on Instagram. And yeah, I'd absolutely love to hang with them. I've been meaning to do another trip up to Canada. I was up there, when was it? 2018 now, 2017. I went to Montreal, loved it. And I'd love to go back and hang out in Canada some more. It seems like a great place. And let me see. Slam Sedan says, imagine a thirst trap on the thumbnail. That'd be crazy. Well, I mean, there's other car YouTubers that have done that in the past that I've seen. So yeah, not something that I'm willing to do at this point, even if it means I got to get a new job. Like I just have to stay true to myself, and that's just myself, and that's just not me to do those types of videos or do rest in peace kind of videos and stuff like that. If you know, you know. So just not going to be me. Sean says, have you been following the Fisker MKBHD drama? I just saw that he said it was like the worst panel gap ever, and it was a bad car, but I haven't seen if there's been other drama behind the scenes about that. But I mean, I didn't watch his video, so I don't know what he said about Fisker outside of the the couple little things that I saw elsewhere. But I mean, the Fisker seems like it's the most lemon car of right now. I've seen in several years. So any crap people are throwing at Fisker, I think, is totally deserved right now. Again, I hope that they find their way away from bankruptcy, and I hope that the Oceans get a whole lot better, and I hope the whole company makes solid vehicles that run for 1 million miles and are the best things ever someday. I wish them all the best for that, but I really don't think it is. So if there are like Fisker stands out there like defending it and dragging Marcus Brownlee, that would be a strange thing, because Fisker is not a hill you want to die on. That is, I think, going to be not a company that lasts very long, in my opinion. Let me see. Slam Sedan says, I feel like they have programmed us to have a short attention span, instant gratification, or I'm out. Absolutely. That's the way they have set it up. And So it is what it is, I guess, unless you want to fight back against it. And some people have with just, either cutting off social media altogether or just deliberately watching long stuff or, whatever the case might be. But, and sometimes it's just a personality thing as well. But if there is a chemical, a chemistry thing in your brain there with the dopamine hits, then, social media has figured it out that, Facebook's been doing this for years as well with trying to sneak in as many ads as they can, but giving you that dopamine hit of, oh, someone liked my picture or whatever. And that is a real chemical thing that you could actually become addicted to, so it's crazy times we're living in for sure. And Hugo, thank you so much for being a member for 11 months now. I really appreciate it. He said, finally moved to South Carolina. I've been driving with the top off in my BMW and loving the weather. That's awesome. Congrats on the move. I'm glad that it went well and glad you're enjoying the Z3 there. And let me see. Mike's Car Info says, thank you for keeping a positive attitude, Matt. Absolutely. Thanks for stopping by, Mike. And Caleb says, big tech channels are now reviewing electric vehicles. Yeah, it's and I guess there's some overlap there, so it makes sense. And I'm not there. Some tech channel reviews though that I've seen of cars are problematic to me because these are people that aren't car people. And for reviewing the tech and reviewing basic stuff, that's fine. But if they're making comments on driving dynamics, on and we're talking about people that have never been to a driving school, people that have never gone on track, that people have never honestly known how to drive a vehicle well, and again, I'm not talking about anyone in particular with this, just I've seen stuff from a variety of tech creators that are reviewing electric cars now, and some of them weigh in on car guy stuff, or not car, I shouldn't say car guy, but car enthusiast stuff, and it's just, I don't think they're qualified to do that. If they want to talk about the tech stuff, that's fine. If they want to go and get the training to learn how to actually be a good driver and then, give intelligent thoughts on driving dynamics, then that's fine as well. I'm not saying you have to be, some, stig in order to comment on how a car drives. And there is an appeal to, giving impressions for the average person that, doesn't understand oversteer, understeer, this, that, or the other. But, just some people assume that their review on that vehicle is the authority. And I would just, I kind of wish there was a disclaimer like, hey, I'm not, the best driver in the world, but here's my thoughts on the drive or something like that, and instead of, them trying to attempt like it's a comprehensive review, when to me, it's not the best reflection of what those cars are. And there's been some interesting stuff I've seen from tech YouTubers as far as car choices and car thoughts and stuff that I won't get into, but there's been some stuff once in a while. Beth will run across, some of the YouTubers she watches, and they're like, hey, they were talking about this vehicle. And I'm like, oh, great. Like, what did they say? And it's almost always like something I disagree with completely, but they influence millions of people with this opinion that, in my opinion, is far from accurate. But it is what it is. It's the internet. Anyone can say whatever they want. And I mean, myself included, I can say whatever, idiotic stuff I want to say as well. And, that's the beauty of YouTube and the internet. So you can say whatever you want and, put it out there for mass consumption. And, it is what it is. But let me see. Slam Sedan says there's that guy named Forrest who does like 30-second car reviews on TikTok. Yeah, Forrest does great stuff. If you just want the highlights or you just want to know where every storage bin is in a vehicle or whatever, quick little things. Pushing Pistons is another great one. I've hung out with him on many programs. He's a really cool guy. I just saw him on the GX program actually a couple of months back. Really cool guy. He does fantastic stuff. I watch, all of his little reels on Instagram and stuff. And he's been doing some great stuff. I think he actually did an ad with Toyota recently and like a bunch of other stuff too. Like, I mean, he's really doing great stuff. And I'm really happy for him. And there's certainly a huge market for that. It's just not me. And to me, even though it's good advice, of saying, hey, here's a quick rundown of the highlights, I don't think that is going to give you a full picture of what a vehicle is like, in my opinion. So that's why, like, I'm really passionate about helping people find a car they're going to love, not just from, a highlight standpoint, but like giving you a real good idea so you don't have to have some car salesman that doesn't know what he's talking about, flub his way through a sale trying to, make up stuff or, talk you through something and reading the window sticker because he doesn't know his own product. I want to give you all the information. So you show up at the dealership, you say, I already know everything about the car. Let me drive it. As long as it feels good, sign, negotiate the price and you're done. And you kind of can cut out, trying to get information from the salesman, since I know how hair pulling that can be. And it's just like, so that's why I try and just give people lots of good information so they don't have to look for it from other sources that might be more frustrating. Let me see. Veslin says the bad thing is that the algorithm is very aggressive and becoming more and more aggressive. So good content gets buried beneath the fast spamming. Absolutely. Yep, that is one of the struggles. And Stemson says, I just checked and I didn't know I was subscribed to Kyle. What the hell? Yeah. So that's the thing is, if you're not regularly watching something, it just YouTube essentially unsubscribes you as far as your recommendations goes. That's why you either have to make sure you watch someone's video every once in a while, or you just stick to that sub feed. So that's a prime example. Like, you didn't even know you were subscribed to him, and it's not your fault. It's just that YouTube hasn't shown you that stuff. And so like, that's one of Kyle's subscribers being like, why aren't my subscribers watching? It's because your subscribers have no clue you exist. I mean, I'm sure 400,000 of my 440,000 subscribers probably think I dropped dead 10 years ago or something, I mean, it's there. And I mean, there's people that even like, I've talked to this with that dude in blue, David Patterson, in the past. And he's like, yeah, I have people come up to me at car shows all the time. They're like, oh man, it sucks you quit doing videos. He's like, what? I still upload every week. And it's like crushing to hear that like people think that you like quit. And it's because of the algorithm, it just, and I mean, obviously it's people forget as well. If people are manually typing in your name every week, but you can't count on people to do that. And I don't expect anyone to think about me all the time and be constantly looking my stuff up. You depend on that algorithm and that subscription feed to give you, what you're expecting. And so it's not a perfect system, but one of the things the last thing I'll say about the algorithm is, whenever everyone has so many subscriptions, it's just really hard for YouTube to do that fairly because, on everyone's YouTube homepage, what do you have? Probably like 9 tiles there. And, unless you're subscribed to only 9 people, like the algorithm is never going to be able to show you everything fairly. And so they got to just try their best with the screen real estate that they have and the few opportunities that they have of people logging in onto YouTube, however often. And they only have a very narrow window to try and hook you to get you to stay on YouTube and be happy with what you're watching. And that's why they have to do the algorithm stuff, because otherwise, if they just randomly in those 9 tiles show, well, here's the 9 most recent videos from your subscriptions. What if you're like, wow, well, like I haven't watched anything from any of these people in years, and you click off and you go to TikTok, so I totally actually now understand and appreciate the algorithm and why it is the way it is. And I don't feel cheated as much as I used to, but it's just the realities of, there's too many videos and there's not enough time and not enough eyeballs to watch them anymore. And that's why I could, churn out videos and get 100,000 views on every car review pretty much like it was nothing back in 2015. That's because there was, I could probably count on 2 hands how many people were doing car reviews in 2015, actually at scale and, consistently. So, it was a whole lot easier. If you had less choice, you watched a Super Nerds fan video because, well, what else were you going to watch? No one else is doing a review on a, 20 or 2009 GTR. So I'll watch Matt's video. I have no choice. And, it was kind of like that. And now you have lots of great choices, and there's, Netflix quality stuff out there for free to watch. That's excellent videos. And so, why would you watch one of these videos when you can go watch Haggerty? You can go watch, Throttle House, or, I mean, I get it. I totally get it. And I just, I can't compete with a giant insurance company or a giant car channel that's got a full crew, so, it's the reality. That's why I'm happy kind of being one of the bottom feeders here and, getting my few thousand views and hoping for the best. But, it's just the reality of it. And I'm just making the best of it as much as I can. Anyway, don't want this to be too much of a downer here. So, 2 says, clickbait, interview Chris Fix and have a face reveal. It's him wearing a mask. So yeah, it'd be fun to interview Chris, and, obviously face reveal is off the table, but, yeah, I'm hoping to hang again with Chris here soon, because he's a great guy. Joe says, if you were to have a supplemental or separate career, what would it be? This is something I've certainly been exploring and thinking about, and I haven't landed on anything that is like really a perfect solution. There's a few things. I love driving, so being like the medical couriers that you might see that do like 100,000 miles a year in a car, to me that could be fun. Just because I love driving, and so if I could kind of do a long-term test of like I'm putting 100,000 miles on a car this year, I think that could be a cool like kind of new content type, as well as something that actually pays decently compared to like doing Uber Eats or something and driving a bunch and making a lot less money. Medical couriers actually seem to make pretty decent money because you're driving around like organs and stuff instead. But so that's been something I've considered. I mean, the problem is I really need to stay in Pittsburgh. So if I were to do something different, it would have to be like I can't really work for a car company because none of them really do remote stuff. You got to be in the office, or hybrid at the very least, so there's those types of things. Otherwise, I would, love to, work for a car company, but it's just, there's no opportunities here in Pittsburgh for that. And so that's why it's really going to come down to something either on the dealership level, or just doing something kind of different. There's a bunch of other ideas I have, but honestly, there's nothing that I'm in love with. That's why one of the reasons why I'm also continuing this. Not only do I love this job and it's still my dream job, but nothing else that's an alternative is any better from a financial standpoint currently, and is any better from a happiness standpoint. Because again, this job just is so much fun, and it's just any other thing I look at just isn't worth the trade-off of, the fun interaction I have with all of you, the fun people I get to hang out with on these drive programs, and the cool places I get to go, and getting to drive all the coolest cars, before most of the world does. I mean, all these things are just really cool perks if you're an enthusiast, and it's tough competition for any other job. So that's why it's been something that, I've explored other options, but there's been nothing that has pulled me away yet. Maybe someday I'll get a good offer or a good opportunity, but as of right now, there's nothing that I can see, even as a supplemental like part-time thing. Honestly, really seems to be nothing that's worth doing. That would be better than spending more time on more videos. Fuchs says a podcast would be something I'd love to watch. Well, I kind of feel like these are a podcast in a way, and the weekly updates are kind of a podcast in a way, and they're actually labeled as such on YouTube. So, other than that, a podcast where like I maybe have guests on, things like that, are kind of things I could also do on video here. Because the bottom line is podcasts just don't make money unless you're going out and selling ads, which is a whole nother side job in and of itself that I don't have time for. So podcasts just don't make money unless you're a huge one and you have someone else that's able to do the ad sales for you. And I just don't have the free time to do that. So that's why a podcast is still something. And also the fact that there's a zillion podcasts out there. I appreciate that you'd like to watch one, Fook, but there's just so many out there. It's like anybody with a microphone has a podcast these days, it seems. So I'm like, not interested in honestly doing that, aside from again this, which I think is a fun thing to listen to in the background kind of as a podcast, as well as the weekly updates. I think kind of fill that role a little bit in my opinion. And Stud Muffin, thank you so much for a super chat. He says the other problem is that old subscribers grew up and stopped watching YouTube as much. I totally agree. That is a very good point as well. Thanks for bringing that up. Because yeah, I mean, like, I'm a dad, I get it. I'm busy with all kinds of other stuff. I don't have time to sit around and watch car reviews like I used to. I used to watch a lot more too. And so it's a very good point. And it's, I think we've all kind of grown up together. A lot of us that have been, on this channel for a long time. And just, yeah, we all have less time, and there's a lot of that, and so it makes a lot of sense. And thank you so much for the super chat. He also says, do you think that Lincoln could have done more with the Continental? I don't know. I mean, I think the problem with the Continental was that they didn't make it big enough. I think they should have made the Continental longer, gave it a bigger trunk. If they would have just added another foot to the vehicle itself, and made the trunk a little bit bigger, and honestly, like, there's that coach door edition right at the very end that they did. I think if they would have had that on it all along, that would have really helped it as well. But I think Continental just, I think there was a lot of like fleet companies, like limo companies, that were interested in them, but then saw that the trunk wasn't as big as it needed to be compared to the old like town cars and stuff. and that the back seat was just not as big as they needed it to be either. I think Lincoln just screwed up the size. They should have just gone big, and they didn't. And so I think that was the problem with Continental. And I think honestly, even the problem with CT6. I mean, I love the CT6, but again, from that mass appeal standpoint, if you're again going for the limos and stuff like that, and just people who want a big luxury car, you got to go bigger. You know, CT6 just had a decent back seat, but it wasn't huge. They needed a huge back seat, and I think that was the problem with both of those cars and why they didn't last. I think if they would have, even if they now would have brought back a bigger Continental, kind of G90 sized. I mean, I guess look at how many G90s they sell, but you know, something big like that at least would have been a better sell from a fleet standpoint. But I think that's the only thing. Otherwise, I think Continental, everything else, the execution was great in my opinion. I think they did a great job on everything else for Continental. It just needed to be bigger. Two, thank you so much for a super chat as well. He says, no, have Chris remove his helmet and it's a mask. Yeah, that'd be fun to kind of clickbait everyone a little bit there. But again, I have more respect for my viewers than to trick them into thinking they're getting a Chris Fix face reveal. Let me see other questions here. Let me see, where was I? Slam Sedan says Fisker making Daewoo looking like a Lexus. They really are. And he says rumored that the R2 Rivian will be priced around 48 grand. Seems competitive. Yeah, well, I think didn't they say 45 at the press launch? I can't remember. I thought they said that, but yeah, if R2 is around those prices, I think they're going to sell a bunch of them for sure. And he says Southern California weather has been similar to Seattle. Well, that's pretty crazy. We had a really rainy day today. I was driving through a downpour, both going down to West Virginia and coming back. But yeah, been a rainy day everywhere in the country, I guess. And Slam Sedan also says tech people probably can't even drive manual. I definitely can't drive manual. Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff I've seen from these tech people, I'm like, yeah, it's oh man, it's valuable though, because it really gives me insight into how like non-car people think about cars, and there's some value there because if it helps me to make my videos more appealing, to have that new frame of reference of like explaining to people some of these very basic things that I just take for granted and assume everyone knows and they don't. You know, it's valuable insight. So I probably should watch more of these tech people reviewing cars, be like, okay, here's where I can improve to make these videos a little more ground level for, you know, newcomers. I think would be something that would be helpful. Two says, Matt, have you met the Gears and Gasoline guys? I believe, yeah, I met them once a long time ago. I don't remember where it was, but I did meet them once. It was maybe SEMA many years ago. I think that might have been it. I don't know, but I have met them. They were really nice. Sam says we need a Baker X Derek face revealed too. I don't know who that is. So, out of the loop on that one. And Veslin says, agree, tech guys reviewing cars is very odd and funny. Okay, well, I'm glad I'm not the only one that's noticing this, but obviously they're very influential, and that's kind of the concerning thing to me is the opinions that they're putting out to the public that are very influential that I don't think are always the most fair. But two also says, also Austin Evans is a tech guy who actually tracks his cars, kind of wished he did more. I don't know him either. But it's cool to see that there is one who does track his cars and kind of knows a little bit more there. So that's good. There's at least one. Hopefully his tech car reviews rise above for people looking for actual driving dynamics impressions. Spy Harpy says, you mentioned you dislike BMW's larger grills. I hate them too. I was moving to the fast lane and saw a 4 Series coupe approaching. I purposely let it pass to not see that ugly grill in the mirror. That's funny. You're really going out of your way to avoid them. That is, I don't blame you, but that's commitment. That's funny. Two says, wish you did more car content. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I'm always happy to see people who actually can speak intelligently about cars giving thoughts. I think that's always welcome. There's always value in getting various viewpoints on a car, because a lot of us also don't always agree, even in the car enthusiast, reviewer world. We have different perspectives, and that's very healthy and very good, so that, everything strikes everyone differently, and everyone has their own hangups and their own preferences and ways that they think things should be done and all that. And it's it's always great to hear, opposing opinions on that stuff. And Six Lick says he's still here as far as older subscribers, and he says also no one stops watching YouTube. It's more like the algorithm really screws up what subscribers see. An example is Saab Kyle. Yeah, it's really a shame because again, Kyle worked really hard on growing these huge viewer bases. I mean, me as well. That subscriber number used to mean something and really be a badge of honor for how hard you've worked. And now it's it's helpful for selling brands, your ads and things like that if you have this potential subscriber base. But it just it's a vanity thing, unfortunately, it is unfortunate because like I know there are real people behind those numbers, but it's just that YouTube just isn't surfacing it to the right ones. It's just a shame. Stud Muffin, thank you for another super chat. He says, I totally agree with you about the Continental. I'm mad that Lincoln didn't try to make the Continental the official president's vehicle, a throwback to former presidents. Yeah, that would have been cool as well. I'm not sure how that works as far as what gets picked as a presidential vehicle. But that would have been cool to see them go back to Lincolns for sure. I think there was talks of the Beast, which is the current presidential vehicle, of that potentially going electric, but I think that they're also kind of hesitant about making that electric. Just I don't know why. I guess maybe from a like worst case scenario, we need to drive the presidential limo cross country at the drop of a hat for some reason. I don't know what the reasoning is there, but because I feel like the Beast is probably almost 10 years old, right? Because I think that goes back to the Obama era. So it's got to be getting old. You think they'd want a new replacement soon? And Fook, thank you so much for the super chat as well. He says, if you ever let the Bullitt go, do a photo shoot with it and make signed posters so we can all buy a copy as a farewell. That's a nice idea. I don't know. I know there's a little bit of interest in merch and things like that, but with like the t-shirt sales and stuff, that stuff doesn't really do anything. So I really don't think there's a lot of appetite for people to buy stuff from this channel, to be totally honest. I have some great pictures of it that, I could totally print up into posters and do that kind of stuff. But I've only actually had, I can probably count on one hand how many people have ever asked for my autograph. There's probably I'd say maybe 5 or so, but honestly, I feel like autographs aren't really something people really care about that much anymore either. But I'm not opposed to it. Just selling anything on this channel has just been very unsuccessful. So that even like I did the Super Darks fan hat because there was some positive signs that people were interested in those, and I think I literally sold 2 of those hats. So, just things like that typically are more trouble than they're worth. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't the case, but again, there's everyone's struggling right now. I mean, very few people are comfortably getting by these days with inflation and everything. So asking people to or offering more things for people to buy, I feel like is probably not the most appealing thing. I think like things like these super chats are a little bit more exciting because it's direct connection, it's direct interaction, and I think that's the new way of doing things versus having an autograph or a picture or something like that, at least in my opinion. And thank you again for the super chat, Fook. And let me see, getting back to the other member questions. Six Lick says, Matt, what are your thoughts on vlogging? Just a day in the life kind of thing. I'm not opposed to that. To be honest, I'm not a great vlogger. I don't like in public. I just feel really awkward, vlogging and being that person. If it was like around the house, things like that, that could be fine. But, for example, we don't post our daughter online or, even, publicly disclose anything about her. So like that would make it tough to kind of film it around the house, kind of day in the life thing. I mean, I could do just like what I do on a daily basis and like the behind the scenes of doing car reviews. But, aside from selfie stuff, like, if I'm doing behind the scenes of like me filming a car review, typically that'd be better if like Beth was following me around with a camera all day or something, which she's usually, busy with our daughter and all that. But I'm not opposed to, if I don't have to be out in public doing it, doing like vlogging stuff. I don't know. And I'd be curious to hear how you guys feel about vlogging these days. If that's something that's kind of played out, or if you guys are still having interest in vloggers that you see out there. If that's something that you guys would have interest in. I'm not opposed to that. I did actually consider doing a vlog just for members as like a member exclusive thing of like, hey, here's a little bit of the behind the scenes thing, and that's something I still want to do. So that's something I need to do, pretty soon here, because I think there's gonna be some cool press cards coming up and some fun stuff to be like, hey, here's what a week looks like for me, and that's something I need to like kind of sit down and figure out how to do that well, and then that's something I do want to do as a member exclusive video. Excuse me, and if there's good feedback from that, then maybe do some more of that. I mean, I'm open to that. If that would certainly help, the channel. I'm not opposed to that, but the thing with vlogging is you have to have a really interesting life in order to like have enough content to vlog. And all the interesting stuff in my life, you guys see. It's the car reviews. I get to drive a cool car every week, and I post a car review about it. So like, that's the most interesting thing that I do. And so, trying to add in other stuff. I mean, it'd be cool to see behind the scenes of like, here's the other little things that I do, I guess, but I feel like that would get old really fast. So that's why like doing it as like a one-time like member thing, I think could make sense. But as a content strategy going forward, I feel like I'd really be struggling to come up with interesting things to do without that getting exhausting really fast. I think that's why a lot of vloggers burn out really fast, is because your life can only be so sensational for so long to give people click worthy stuff before you just get so burned out so fast. And I got to do this, again, if I'm going to keep doing this as my full-time job, I have to make sure there's a sustainability to it. And vlogging typically is not a good way to keep your channel sustainable. And Brian says, any feedback on the 2025 Camry? It looks closer to Lexus now. I like the Camry so far. I sat in it when the reveal happened. I did do a reveal video on the Camry when it first debuted. So if you haven't seen my 2025 Camry video, definitely check it out. I sit in it. I show, all the details and all that. So I think I did a pretty good job on that video. If you would like to hear all my thoughts on the 2025 Camry, I don't have any new thoughts just yet, but we will be doing a review of it here relatively soon, so stay tuned for that. And Six Lick says, also, do you have any other hobbies other than cars? Not really. I don't have time, to be totally honest, to do much else. So I've been enjoying building a Lego car here. I don't know if it's going to be visible on camera here, but there we go. I'm slowly working on the Aston Martin DB5 from the James Bond movies, the early James Bond movies. They're slowly building that. Me and my daughter are kind of putting it together very slowly, little by little, as you would expect from a toddler and their attention span and ability to build a 3,000 or 4,000. I don't know how many pieces this one is, or maybe I think this one's like maybe 1,200 pieces or something for the build. But it's taken a while. So I mean, that's something fun. I do a little bit of, but that's pretty much it. I used to, have other hobbies that were kind of like side jobs, like being movie extras and things like that. So, being an extra in a movie would be a fun hobby I'd like to get back into if I have time someday, but just no time currently. 66 also says, one thing I noticed about Saab Kyle's view count, it seems like the way YouTube suggested his content changed once he started his Resto Mod series. It's shocking to see what happened, to be honest. Yeah, it's again, the algorithm just, the way it also, one of the little thing about it is that it really focuses on like your recent videos as well. And it really is trying to figure out, okay, what is this channel? Who do I need to serve these videos to? And whenever you're a long running channel like Kyle's or myself, the algorithm has a pretty good idea of like, okay, this channel is about this. And so they will try and push, these videos to this audience. And that's why that often gets it wrong, because with cars, it's tough because, say I have a really popular video on the Dodge Charger EV. And the YouTube algorithm says, oh, okay, so, 40,000 people of Matt's, viewership really like the Dodge Charger EV, so much so that at least they clicked on the video and watched it. They say, okay, well, this channel for right now is a channel about Dodge Charger EVs. Now let's try and push stuff related to that. And, so maybe it pushes my Ram video to them, or, something that is maybe from Stellantis or something like that. But then if I post a video of a Honda, then they're like, oh, the algorithm's like, okay, well, now what do we do? So it'll try and serve those new videos, assuming that they're also the same type as the last one or the most successful last one. They'll try and serve that up. And so they'll say, hey, Dodge Charger EV fans, here's a Honda Pilot. And then no one's going to click on it. And then the algorithm will say, oh boy, this must be a bad video because Matt's fans don't like this vehicle. I'm like, no, like it's just that you're serving the video to the wrong segment. They sample different segments. And so that's why sometimes, you know, with the algorithm, it's luck of the draw. And that's because it really comes down to, do you get lucky with hitting the jackpot of the algorithm picking the right sampling of your subscriber base? Again, 30,000 people out of 440,000 subscribers. Of those 30,000 you show the thumbnail to, do you pick the right 30,000 or do you pick the wrong 30,000? And you know, the algorithm tries to find a way to, you know, find those people that are most interested, but it's not very smart. So I think it truly just buries some videos that just, it's because it's if you're not doing the same thing, really, that's why YouTube says like do different channels, you're going to do different things, but I can't do a different channel for every type of different brand of cars. You know, so that's why it just, I think their algorithm really gets stumped by car channels that do multiple things. And this is why car channels that stick to the same thing do really well. The YouTube vloggers that do the, hey, here's my daily drive in my Lamborghini and here's me jumping trucks or whatever, like it's the same thing, relatively speaking, that, you know, all of those viewers that all subscribe to that all are interested in that same kind of thing. So it's no wonder that you have people like Street Speed and those, you know, blowing up because, you know, they do the same kind of stuff. And as long as they stick to their audience that likes that stuff, they're going to do well because the algorithm knows, like the algorithm's on the same page, like, all right, like we know who can watch these videos. We keep sending it to those same people. It keeps, the algorithm keeps pushing it and it just snowballs real fast. But when you're a car review channel, you know, you don't have that control and you're doing everything. So it's just constantly being confused. And I mean, there's some that again rise above that, like, you know, Car Throttle, Dog, whoever, you know, but even, you know, some of those, like, especially I think that's part of the reason why Doug did better than most other car reviewers is that he's still stuck to a type of car, typically speaking. You know, I mean, yes, he does stuff that's all over the place, but it's typically more odd, quirky stuff, or at least it was, especially in those years when he was growing really fast. Now he's kind of like the rest of us where he's doing a little bit of everything, mainstream stuff that might not be weird or quirky. And I think that might be part of why his channel is kind of dropping off a little, because the algorithm's getting confused as well for him. Like, okay, well, like people were watching videos on Koenigsegg's, and now we have a RAV4 video to show them. How do we serve up this RAV4 video? And so they say, oh, well, the people that watch the Koenigsegg thing, well, let's sample it to them. And then you see people like, I don't want to watch a RAV4. I want to watch more Koenigsegg stuff. But he doesn't have more Koenigsegg stuff. So the RAV4 video doesn't do as well, you know? And so there's just that kind of thing. And that's why sticking to one really specific niche and sticking to that only, if you can keep that, you know, original and entertaining and relevant for a long period of time, that's the secret sauce. If you can do that, then, you know, it's really playing to the algorithm the best you can possibly do that. And that's the tough thing. So that's why, and I've had offers in the past to like change my channel. There's been companies that have approached me to be like, hey, we'll take over your whole channel. Like, you just be the personality. We'll film, we'll edit, we'll tell you what to do, basically. And like, I'm just like a puppet to like just have them do whatever. And like, they're like, look, we've blown up all these other channels and they went from 50,000 subscribers to 1 billion subscribers in 3 months. And I could do that and just become some personality and have, you know, just that kind of thing and just do that kind of thing. It probably would work. But again, I'm not doing this to just become some popular YouTuber. I'm doing this to help people find a car they'll love. It's just unfortunate the algorithm is not smart enough to, you know, do that well. So lots of algorithm talk tonight. I apologize for the people I'm boring here, but hopefully it's kind of interesting, maybe just to hear some of the behind the scenes stuff of how this all works. Maybe not, but I appreciate all the questions about it. And Austin, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, hey Matt, how about an ASMR car detailing channel? I don't know if that would be, are those sounds pleasing to people? I mean, I guess there's always an audience for everything, but I know for me, like when I was detailing, the sound of, you know, buffers and all that kind of stuff wasn't particularly appealing sounds. And yeah, I mean, I see you're probably joking, but I mean, hey, maybe it's a worthwhile idea, but I'm not a good enough detailer to to even try and do any kind of detailing channel. So I'll leave that one for someone else. But thank you, Austin, for the super chat. And let me see, getting back to the member questions here. So 66 says, I remember like it was yesterday when he bought a Dodge Viper and reviewed it for us. Yeah, that was so awesome when Kyle got that Viper. It was so fun. And I also, 66 also says, if I ever met you, I'd ask you to sign my engine bay, to be honest. I'd love that. That would be awesome. If I ever get a chance, I'd be more than happy to. He says, I'd spray some 2K clear over it so it never fades. That's cool. Yeah, I appreciate that. I did sign someone's dashboard once. They asked me to sign their dashboard. It was so much pressure. And this was in the Super Ducks fan days, but it was like, it was a Sharpie on their dashboard. And I'm like, are you sure you want me to do this? They're like, yes, please. I'm like, okay. And I did it, but man, like that was the most like really focused I've ever been in signing my name in my life. Because it's like, doing it like one shot with a Sharpie on someone's dashboard. And thankfully I did it, pretty well, but that was a lot of pressure. And Fuchs says, understandable, just looking for ways that we can support. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Honestly, the best way to support, like I said, is try and watch the video all the way through if you can, or, let the video play through. And then, just honestly, it's just, that's the bottom line. That, and, otherwise, the memberships, the super chats, the super thanks, all those types of things are really the best ways. But I appreciate that, Fook. And Zachary says, I had to put the kiddos to bed, so I needed to catch up on my listening on 1.75 speed. It's so slow when I end up live. That's crazy. I'm impressed with your listening skills, because I feel like I already talk way too fast. And if you can listen to that on almost double speed, I'm impressed. You are a god among mortals as far as your ability to collect information at a lightning speed. That's impressive. And 66 also says, even if you vlog things like, hey guys, I'm eating a pizza, vlogger content is much more lax, I feel, in terms of effort for viewer count, at least from what I've seen. I agree. I mean, maybe there is demand there. I don't know. I mean, aside from the cars, I just feel like my life is not interesting enough. But I mean, maybe I should just put that out there and let the viewers decide that. And if it crashes and burns, then my suspicions will be confirmed. And if it's some surprise, success, then I guess it doesn't hurt really. So I mean, that is something I'm open to. And like I said, maybe I'll do the member one. If there's a ton of good, feedback from that, then maybe I will, go from there. But I have that on my list of things to do here. It's going to get real busy, though, I will say, for the rest of the first half of this year. I got a ton of cars coming in. I got a ton of stuff. I'm going to be slammed as far as content goes. But I mean, that's something I want to fit in, because I also just want to do more member exclusive videos and really improve that membership experience. And so I need to find a way to work that in. And, it'd be probably not a very polished vlog. It would be literally like one takes on my iPhone here, but it's something I definitely want to do at least trial run of for sure. I appreciate the interest, 66 as well. Joe says, if a company offered to buy your channel, how much do you think you would get for it? I don't know. There's actually been discussions, not about my channel in particular, but I'm in some group chats with other YouTubers that had people actually approach them with those types of things. And, it's even for bigger channels, it's a struggle. I think, for me, it's one of these things. The only way I would ever sell the channel would be if someone gave me more than it was worth, to be honest, because again, it's not just, it's not just a money thing. It's like something that I really enjoy doing, that I honestly it's one of those things, I would enjoy doing it for free, even if I had to, so I love that I can, do this as my job and make it my actual, career that, provides the money for our family here. But, I think if I had to, someone was like, I want to buy your channel, but you need to quit and walk away and repurpose it somehow and rename it or whatever. It would have to be enough that I could just live off of that money forever. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Fire accounts, where it's you have enough money stashed away that you can just live off the interest of that money and have that money never really get depleted. You're just living off the interest forever. So it would have to be in the millions so that I could, be having my, whatever percentage it is that you're expecting out of the stock market every year to live off of that, so it'd be something that'd be entirely higher than what I think the channel is probably realistically worth. Even if you account for future revenues and things like that, so I honestly have no clue. No one's ever offered to like actually seriously, buy it or anything. I've had companies in the past that have been offering to do like an option to like have the monetization rights go to them for like my old content, or channels that have offered to like finance the channel for like growth and boosting purposes and things like that, but never anyone offering to just straight up buy it. And let me see. 66 also says you should have been cast as the main character for Baby Driver, given they included a Deborah X in that movie. Yeah, it would have been fun. I would have loved to even just be an extra in that movie. But yeah, I don't think Hollywood is interested in me. 66 says you'd think Google being the leading company in terms of data screwing up the algorithms. Yeah, but I mean, look at Google screwing up AI. I mean, they're kind of behind on the whole AI thing as far as, look at Microsoft being so far ahead and, obviously all the open AI stuff. Google is surprisingly behind the ball on all that, and they should be a leader in that kind of stuff. And, like I said, I think from what I've seen, YouTube is working on a new feature that'll try to get more attention on videos that might have been buried by the algorithm but deserve to get views, and putting more control in the viewership's hands. So I'm hoping that that's something that they actually do continue to pursue and it comes out here, sooner. But in the meantime, it's their sandbox. I'm just playing in it, But anyway, we are at 2 hours, so I'm going to just do the last few member questions here, and then I'll have to sign off. But let me see. Jazz says the algorithm talk is interesting. Okay, well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Jazz. Thanks for giving me your feedback there. And 66 also says Pan the organizer just talks while he washes his car. His channel is huge. I've never heard of him either. See, this is maybe part of the thing is I need to just like watch more, find some time to watch more car videos so I can actually see what is out there, because that would be probably really inspiring and helpful for me. But he says his channel is huge. You could technically go for a Matt Moran details spin-off channel. Yeah, that's something to think over as far as like not even necessarily detailing, because right now the house where we're living here doesn't have a strong enough water line. I don't even have a water line in my garage. So I can't do hand washes at home, unfortunately. I need to like put a water line in, and just something that I don't feel like spending the money on right now. But hopefully someday eventually I'll get a water line so I can actually hand wash cars. Although pretty soon I probably won't have a car to hand wash aside from the Mach-E. But it's some other thing of like me just vlogging and casually talking outside of these live streams, I think could be something worth exploring. If there's if vlogs are still that popular and people like that stuff, I think I'll have to watch one of Pan the Organizer's videos. Thanks for suggesting that channel, and I'll have to try and see if I get some inspiration from that. 2B says Motorman complains about the YouTube algorithm as well. Yeah, but I think the algorithm is an easy scapegoat, like I said, but I really think the algorithm actually does the best most of the time with what it has to work with. Just again, having 9 tiles on your homepage and no one using the sub feed anymore, it's like that's really, their hands are tied, and they try and surface the best stuff that they can. There's just too many videos. That's the problem. Jazz says, wonderful that you have many cars coming in. How many cars the next 3 months? 1 a week. As far as reviews, I mean, I'm still going to be keeping up the 2 car reviews a week. As far as how many cars, I can actually tell you, I can pull it up and count them here. For the next 3 months. So yeah, we're talking April, May, June. What do I have here? So as far as, press cars is a different thing, because I have a bunch of like media drive stuff I'll be posting as well. But it's just as far as press cars goes, there's gonna be 1. I'm doubled up most of April and May, and looking like into June, I'm probably doubled up as well. So I'm gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, probably 20 in the next 3 months here. And also there's a fun video. I'm not gonna I'm gonna put this as a member exclusive thing, but I do have a often requested video type that is coming up. I'm going to be doing a comparison. I'm not going to say what I'm doing a comparison of, but I'm actually going to have two interesting competing cars booked in the same week. And I'm going to do an actual, like, both the cars are next to me here. Let's do an actual back-to-back comparison of these two and discuss them. And I know that's something a lot of people have been asking. Usually it's a gigantic headache to schedule that, but I just had something happen to fall into my lap where I had two really good competitor cars, are going to be showing up at the same week. And I'm going to finally do an actual comparison video. I won't be able to keep doing those, but it'll be a one-time thing. I'm going to just try and just see, how that does. But I know a lot of people have been asking for those, and so I want to give that kind of video a try too. Dave says, do you still get a lot of views on your Batmobile videos? The Batman videos, they typically get, I don't even know the amount every month. It's probably a few thousand views a month still. The Batmobile video itself, which is still my most watched video I've ever posted, that's at like 6 million views now. That one, I think, gets around 50 views a day still, something like that. So it's, not a bunch, but it's a surprising amount for, what is probably a long forgotten thing. I mean, how many people even think about The Dark Knight Rises anymore, but yeah, so they get a few. I think it's mostly, people that just happen to stumble upon, like, oh wow, what are these Batmobiles? And it's very cool that I got to see those. And Jazz says, thanks for working tonight, Matt. Have a good Easter, everybody. Yeah, I hope you have a good Easter as well, Jazz, and everyone else as well. Thanks so much for joining in. And Sixlick says, wait, you're selling the Bullitt? Yes, I discussed that earlier. If you have some extra time here at the end of the live stream, you can go back, because these do always get uploaded here after the fact as a regular video on demand kind of thing. So you can go back and watch earlier. I won't get into it again here, but yeah, the Bullitt is most likely going away. Haven't officially announced it or confirmed it. There's a slight chance that it won't happen, but pretty certain that it's going to be going away here pretty soon. So stay tuned for that, unfortunately. And Spy Harpy says, great live stream. Happy Easter, Matt. Thank you. I appreciate all of you who joined in tonight here. It's great to hang with you all. Thanks so much for doing the Saturday live stream. And the last thing I will add is that Saturday will be the new live stream time for the next couple of weeks, because I have stuff going on Sunday evenings here for the next couple of weeks. So hopefully that's okay with everyone else's schedules, but I'm only going to be able to do them on Saturday. So next week will be Saturday as well. The week after that will be Saturday as well. And then I may be able to get back to Sundays here later in April. But for the next couple of weeks, it will be Saturday, just as a heads up. Yeah, looking forward to talking with you guys again here next week. And yeah, so happy Easter, everyone who celebrates. Hope you have a great one. And thank you all very much for watching. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care and stay tuned for some more good videos here this coming week.